Saying I lied isn't enough to undo a domestic violence accusation. If the alleged victim is against you, her motive to lie has to be exposed. And if she's on your side now, she still needs a clear, credible reason for why she said what she said in the first place. Because the prosecution isn't going to just let it go. They're going to show body-worn camera footage, play the 911 call, show photos of injuries, whatever they can to convince the court that the original story, the accusation, is the real one. In this video, I'm going to be going through the top 7 reasons why someone would make a false domestic violence allegation. Make sure that you watch until the end, because what most people don't realize is that it's often not just one motive, it's 2, 3, even more. And if you can't explain each one clearly, consistently, and in a way that fits the evidence, then no matter who's on your side now, the case will not go away. My name is Veronica. I'm a domestic violence criminal defense attorney. I help people throughout the entire state of California put their cases behind them so that they can enjoy their lives and their freedom. Okay, so let's jump right in. The top 7 reasons that people lie or exaggerate domestic violence claims. Sometimes it's just one, but often it is a combination of them. Number 1, being under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Alcohol doesn't just blur memories, it amplifies emotions and impulsivity. People say things that they don't fully mean or can't clearly remember later. That doesn't automatically mean that an accusation was malicious or even false, but it does mean that the context matters. And in many cases, alcohol is a major factor that overlaps with jealousy, police pressure, the reason why you got into an argument in the first place, or regret. Let's get into an example of how this plays out. It started as a fun night, a few drinks at a rooftop bar, then more at home. Olivia and Marcus had been having some tension already, mostly about him working late and canceling a trip that they were planning. After enough drinks, small annoyances felt like betrayals. He made a comment she took as dismissive. She threw a pillow, he slammed the door, one thing after another escalated. By the time that a neighbor called the police, both were shouting. And when the police came out, Olivia told officers that Marcus had grabbed her. Later, she admitted she didn't even remember how things got out of hand and that she didn't think that he had touched her at all. And the alleged victim being drunk is not a defense, but it does help explain how things spiraled fast and why the facts need to be untangled, not just assumed. Number 2, police pressure. Police officers are trained to take control of a volatile situation quickly, and that often means applying pressure to get one person to tell a clear story. But when that pressure includes threats like arresting both people or calling CPS, it can lead someone to say something they don't fully mean just to end the chaos and protect themselves or their children. Let's get into an example of what that can look like in real life. When officers arrived at Natalie's apartment, she and her boyfriend had already stopped arguing. The fight had been loud, but not physical. One of her kids had overheard, started crying, and the neighbors called the police. Natalie told the officers that it was just an argument, but they pushed harder. One officer said, "If we can't figure out who the aggressor is, we're arresting both of you and calling CPS. Your kids will not be staying here tonight." Scared and overwhelmed, Natalie gave a statement that made her boyfriend sound like the only problem, just to keep her kids safe and avoid getting arrested herself. This is why looking at the body-worn video in detail is so important. It's not just about what the alleged victim said, it's about what she was being asked and what she was being told before she said it. Number 3, jealousy. Jealousy is one of the most emotionally volatile forces in a relationship, and when it combines with insecurity or suspicion of actual infidelity, things can escalate quickly. In the moment, someone may feel hurt, betrayed, or humiliated, and act out of emotion, not reason. That doesn't always lead to a false accusation on purpose, but it can lead to a story that is selective, exaggerated, or leaves out important details. Let's get into an example of how this can play out. Leah had already been suspicious that Eric was getting too close with a coworker. One night, she saw a late text on his phone and she snapped. She confronted him, slapped him, and he pushed her off in reaction. When the police showed up, called by another tenant at their apartment complex, Leah told them that Eric was the aggressor. She genuinely felt like he was in that moment. She felt hurt. And she left out her role in this whole physical altercation entirely. Later, when things calmed down, she admitted she just wanted him to feel scared, to teach him a lesson, and that she did feel like she was the victim because she felt like he had an inappropriate relationship with his coworker. She felt hurt. Number 4, control or manipulation. In a he said, she said, or she said, he said case, jurors need a reason to believe that someone would lie or exaggerate. Control is one of the most powerful and overlooked motives. When a relationship is ending, or someone is afraid of losing housing, custody, or financial support, A false accusation can be used strategically to regain power. Let's look at how that plays out in real life. Ben had been trying to end things for weeks. His partner refused to move out of the condo that they shared in West Hollywood. During a final conversation, Ben told him that since the property was originally in his name, he expected his partner to move out. Hours later, the police showed up at Ben's door. His partner had called and claimed that Ben had shoved him. No injuries, no witnesses, no actual physical altercation. Just a sudden accusation dropped at the exact moment that Ben asserted control over the property. Number 5, fear of being arrested themselves. Not every false accusation is calculated. Sometimes it is pure panic. When both people have been physical and police are on the way, the fear of being arrested can push someone to shift the blame fast. And once they say, "He hit me first," that statement becomes the foundation of the case. Unless that moment of panic is explained and supported with real context, the DA treats it as a fact and as strong evidence. Here's how this can unfold. During a heated argument, Sarah threw a coffee mug that shattered near her boyfriend, Anthony. When he blocked her next swing, she fell back and bruised her wrist. Moments later, the neighbors called the police. When they came out, afraid that she might be arrested for throwing the coffee mug and for attempting to take a swing at him, Sarah told officers that Anthony had grabbed her unprovoked. She didn't think it through. She was scared and she was just reacting. But that one statement set the tone for the entire prosecution against Anthony. Number 6, revenge. When someone feels deeply hurt or rejected, that emotional pain can turn into retaliation. Breakups are hard, and breakups that come after major commitments, like wedding plans especially, can trigger a sense of humiliation, abandonment, and rage. And when that pain turns into punishment, false or exaggerated accusations can follow. If the emotional trigger is not explained in court, the timing, the betrayal, the fallout, then the accusation stands alone and jurors are left to assume the worst. Now, here's what this can look like. David and his fiancée had been engaged for over a year. She'd already bought her wedding dress, picked a venue, and told her family the date. But after months of tension, David told her he was calling it off. She was devastated and furious. That same night, while packing up her things, she started throwing his stuff out onto the street. When he tried to stop her, they argued. She called the police and claimed that David had shoved her. He was arrested on the spot. What the officers didn't know is that she was heartbroken, humiliated, and felt like he deserved it. And without that emotional context, her accusation becomes the foundation of a criminal case. Number 7, misunderstandings, genuine misunderstandings with the police. Domestic violence arrests often happen fast. And in the rush to take control of the situation, police don't always ask the right questions. They rely on quick judgments, vague statements, and physical cues. But when emotions are running high, it's easy for someone to be misunderstood, especially when you're nervous, when this is an unexpected situation that had just gotten out of control. And once that misunderstanding is written into a police report, the prosecution relies on it. Here's an example of how that can go. When officers arrived at Carla's apartment, she had a faint bruise on her arm. One of them asked, "Did you get that today?" She said yes, meaning earlier that afternoon when she bumped into the fridge while cleaning. Nothing having to do with her partner, nothing having to do with an argument. But the officer heard that and assumed she meant during that current incident. That one answer, misunderstood, misinterpreted, misheard, was documented as an injury caused by her partner. He was arrested on the spot. If the alleged victim is against you, their motive matters. And if they're trying to help, their reason for changing the story needs to be credible, consistent, and carefully delivered. This is not something that's likely to get fixed by the victim trying to contact the DA on their own. I've worked directly with alleged victims, and yes, they can get their own attorney, because once they speak to the DA and they say the wrong thing, it is official. There's no undo button. False accusations happen, exaggerations happen, but explaining why it happened and making sure that that explanation makes sense, it holds up under pressure, is the difference between a conviction and a second chance. If you have a domestic violence criminal case in the state of California, feel free to book a consultation with my office. You can find our number down below. You can also find a link to book your consultation directly there.